The Central Bank of Nigeria this week released a new policy making it impossible for people to withdraw more than 60,000 naira at a go, which is the equivalent of $300. Before now, one could withdraw 150,000 naira a day. Holders of naira-denominated debit and credit cards will continue to have access to the use of their cards at POS machines in any part of the world, but this will be subject to the annual limit of $50,000. Now, to take a look at the implication of this on the economy, I'm now being joined on the News at 10 by Managing Director of Financial Derivatives, Mr. Bismarck Rewani. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Well, from 100,000 or 150,000 to 60,000 a day, that's the new limit for ATM withdrawal. What difference is this going to make to the economy?
First and foremost, let's get one thing clear. The central bank never issued a circular reducing the limit to 60,000 naira. What happened was that on September 26, 2013, there was a circular that says you could use your naira cards anywhere in the world up to the limit of $150,000. On April 13, 2015, Mr. Agbadamosi, Director of Trade and Exchange, issued a circular saying that that limit has been reduced to 50,000 and the daily withdrawals are now $300. If you use the rate of 200, it comes to 60,000. Now, the platforms which the commercial banks use cannot have a different limit for naira and a different limit for the dollars. Therefore, they use that and set that limit at 60,000, which is the equivalent, so that you don't, when you're in Lagos, use it and get 150,000. Then when you get into Lome, you get $300. So, but fundamentally, why are you restricting the limit and putting limits on the use of this? It points out one major issue. The supply of foreign exchange into the Nigerian market has reduced because of the price of oil and also because of other factors, while the demand has not reduced that much. In fact, the demand remains static. Over 25 to 30% of our trade payables are for invisible items. So you decide, you have two options. One, either you allow the currency find its value, in which case the higher the price, the lower the quantity demanded, or you use administrative tools to reduce the demand. You would achieve the same objective, only that the administrative tools are not sustainable. Therefore, you need to come back and address what you call the true value of the currency.
All right, so it's basically about the value of the naira. Now, some banks have suggested that these limits will affect cash flows. So, what then is the motive behind the CBN directive? You've already given us part of it, but if it is going to affect the cash flow, how is that going to help us?
No, you see, you have an option of using the card through a POS terminal to make payments. You have the option of drawing cash. Cash transactions are actually for the pedestrian, that is for the low end of the bottom of the pyramid. You don't go around in Europe spending cash. You use your card for almost all the transactions. Cash, is for a very limited purpose. Therefore, if you put a limit of $300 a day in cash, which is quite, it's generous, that can be used. But you can still make payments up to $50,000 in a year. You can go to Harrods, go to Macy's or Bloomingdale's and use your card up to that point. And if you have other needs, you can then apply through the central bank to remit the money for your other requirements. But the reason why these limits are put there now is because there is a scarcity of that commodity. Economics is defined as unlimited needs and limited resources. How do you align that? You can either allow the price mechanism to determine what is equilibrium, or you go around administering it by putting policemen and rules and all of that. The problem with administrative measures is that they are not sustainable, and after a while they get compromised and abused. Well, so sooner or later, you will find that the people who are supposed to administer these rules, they themselves become compromised. They get married to the natives.
Now, finally, really, I mean, it looks to me that we'll have to balance somehow the need, perhaps, for a cashless society against the fact that Nigeria is underbanked.
Well, coming to the area of financial inclusion, which is a major issue, I don't think that's the issue. The point is that how many Nigerians, I can tell you that not more than 5% of Nigerian society have ever laid their eyes on a dollar bill, right? So you are not addressing the issue. That is, you are catering for the needs of a small segment of the society. The truth is that your import bill is made up of major items. One of the major items of your import bill is the bloated petroleum, kerosene, PMS import.
And that takes us into a whole new world.
Now you need to address that. If you can address that, either by doing what you're doing with the refineries and removal of the subsidies, which nobody wants to hear, but we'll continue to say it until finally somebody is going to listen and do the right thing.
All right.
At that point, you then save some of the money that you're using for these fictitious imports can be used to support the Naira, and the Naira will find its true value at a rate that is not too high.
All right. On that note, I'd like to say thank you for joining us on the News at 10.
Thank you, Bimbo.
I've been speaking with Mr. Bismarck Rewani, an economist. Now, for close to 20 years, communities under Bende local government in Abia State, southeast Nigeria, have experienced difficult times. This is due to the deplorable condition of the roads, hampering their economic development. Transporting farm produce to neighboring states has been cumbersome, forcing them to take on the responsibility of filling the potholes themselves. Our community report tonight looks at a people in distress and the type of relief the government has planned for them.
Now you're talking. When backs are pushed to the wall, the options available are to either watch on or act. And the residents of this community in Bende local government area of Abia State, southeast Nigeria, have chosen the latter as their means of response after waiting on the government for many years to ease their burden.
We have more than 20 years. We have been doing it. We are doing it by ourselves, not that anything has been done to us. And when they promise us that vote for this, after the voting, nothing can be done.
The roads are riddled with potholes, leaving motorists with harrowing driving experiences. A journey which should ordinarily take 30 minutes is doubled due to the dilapidated infrastructure. The estimated length of the road is about 7 kilometers and serves as an economic route for the communities who transport their farm produce to neighboring states.
Now that the road is very far, it's only about less than 10 kilometers, which we call 6 miles. And it's not too bad, you see, but nobody, the government had not been serious.
Our crops cannot be sold because there is no road.
I'm a businesswoman. I cannot even go to Maya because of the road. Every time we spend our transport for machine up and down from here to Bende, we know how much we spend.
I appeal to the federal government through our representative. Let them push our case forward and see what the federal government can do by constructing this road for us.
The government, in its defense, has this to say.
It's not a bad idea if a road is bad in my community, maybe after rainfall. It's not bad for the community people to rally around to begin to find solution to it. Do some form of intervention pending when government will come, because like you know, government cannot do all the roads at the same time. It's one road at a time, given available resources. So if you see a community trying to help themselves And that should be encouraged. That was what we saw when we were growing up, and I was discussing with somebody yesterday. I don't know where this community spirit have gone. We need to get back to that, and that is one thing that will preserve our roots, so that when government does any form of intervention, the community will help to maintain it.
So it appears the people for now are left to fill their holes with rubble. But for how long can they cope with this before the government realizes it must live up to its responsibility and ensure that those promises made during campaigns are carried out to the letter?
Now you're talking.
Time now for business news, and here's Emana Amawe.
You first. First Bank.
Good evening. Let's take a look at our business stories tonight. Well, President Muhammad Buhari says his administration will give utmost attention to boosting power supply in Nigeria. According to the president, his administration is convinced that steady electricity will launch the country into faster socio-economic development. While speaking in Abuja after being briefed by the Permanent Secretary, Federal Ministry of Power, Mr. Godknows Igali, President Buhari said his administration has already identified the critical problems in Nigeria's power sector and is taking appropriate actions to address them. Sell-offs continue today at the Nigerian Stock Exchange, pushing the benchmark index down 0.52%. Harriet Agbeyi has more.
Hello and welcome to the Stock Market Report. Sell-offs continued today at the Nigerian equities markets as price depreciations across several sectors led to a 0.52% decline in the benchmark index. The all-share index closed at 31,107.11. Market capitalization also came in lower at 10.66 trillion naira. Market breadth remained negative as only 10 stocks posted gains. Forte Oil was the top gainer for the day with a closing share price of 212 naira. It's followed by Nigerian Breweries at 126 naira 50 kobo and Portland Paint and Products Nigeria with 3 naira 95 kobo. Down 4.97%, Mobil leads today's 34 other laggards. The equity closed at 156 naira 80 kobo. Standard Alliance, Access Bank and Guarantee Trust Bank were the most actively traded at today's session. At the end of midweek trade, investors in 3,015 deals exchanged 434.16 million shares for 1.69 billion naira. Those are the day's trading figures. I'm Harriet Agbeyi.
Thank you, Harriet. While female fashion entrepreneurs in Nigeria now have one less thing to worry about, and that's money. This is because the Bank of Industry has launched a new business cluster funding initiative called the Bank of Industry Fashion Fund. According to the Managing Director and CEO of Bank of Industry, Mr. Rashid Olaoluwa, the 1 billion naira fund, targeted exclusively at female fashion designers, is to encourage creativity in Nigeria's fashion industry. Our correspondent, Kayode Alayode, reports.
Gathered in this room are some of the veterans and newcomers in Nigeria's fashion industry.
Just in time, yeah. But we'd like to also...
They are here to grace the launch of a new initiative by the Bank of Industry.
All the way. Fantastic.
After introducing two well-received cluster funding programs within the last few months, the Bank of Industry has introduced another, the Fashion Fund. It's a 1 billion naira funding targeted exclusively at women-owned businesses in the fashion industry. During the launch, the MD CEO, Bank of Industry, Mr. Rashid Olaoluwa, talked about the bank's strategic responsibility as well as the usually tricky issue of collateral.
For us, we see collateral as a second way out. The primary source of our repayment should be the cash flows generated by the business. So when we receive an application, the question we're trying to answer is, can this business generate sufficient cash flow to pay back the loan?
But what Zionists themselves think about the initiative?
And we'd like to say a big thank you to the Bank of Industry for giving us the opportunity to be part of the program that you have lined up. I'm a producer, and it will really please members of the association and probably a whole lot of all the people who are in the industry if we can actually put the money together and have a production hub. You make a sample, you take your sample to the production hub, and then they mass produce for you. And there's more clothes for people to wear. You'll make more money.
This is an opportunity to create wealth. It's an amazing opportunity, and the time is right, as Fumi says. We also need to work on the quality of the technical skills that we are going to build and need in the industry. That is one of the most important key factors. We need to have technical schools that train people on pattern grading, pattern cutting, that know what they are doing.
Whether it's the money or the production hub, there is no doubt that the first tranche of 1 billion naira will go a long way in lubricating Nigeria's fashion industry. Kayode Alayode, Channels Television News.
Big incentive for the fashion industry there. Well, on that note, it's a wrap on Business News tonight. I'm Imana Amawe. Bimbo will be back with the rest of the news at 10.
You first. First Bank.
Coming up next on the news at 10 will be sports news. Stay with us.